It's a growing movement all over the nation, converting former rail lines to hiking and biking trails.
We've converted 15,000 miles to date. More than 9,000 miles are still in the project stage, and we are still seeing abandonments occur every year.
Keith Laughlin is the president of the Rails to Trails Conservancy, a national organization formed in 1986.
Maryland is really a leading rail trail state. There are more than 30 rail trails, more than 130 miles of rail trail in the state, and it really has some great examples. The Capitol Crescent Trail near Washington, D.C. is a fabulous trail.
The Capitol Crescent Trail runs through heavily populated Montgomery County, some of the most expensive real estate in the nation. In Bethesda, the trail takes riders through a well-lit tunnel that goes under busy Wisconsin Avenue. Then, as you leave downtown Bethesda, the trail quickly becomes a beautiful tree-canopied path with easy access to Rock Creek. Local resident Marty McKinney.
The trail is such a great resource. Just this morning I was out running on the trail after I took the kids to school, and there were so many people riding, running, walking with dogs. It was just great.
In Maryland, Rails to Trails was an idea just waiting to happen. The state was a hub of rail activity in the 19th and 20th century. Courtney Wilson, president of the B&O Railroad Museum, knows all about the railroads in Maryland.
And other short line railroads. There was a day in the United States where there were, I would say, 100 large, long-distance railroads. That's boiled down to about 6 today because of mergers.
When the rail lines became economically unsound, the right-of-way was perfect for runners, walkers, and bikers because they are level.
Railroad technology just cannot handle a hillside. We're talking about a 5% grade at the max. Otherwise, on wet days or snowy days, locomotives tend to slide backwards instead of go forwards.
One of the first trails to open was in western Maryland. A big attraction for those who use this trail is historic Fort Frederick, built during the French and Indian War, and where Steve Robertson is the ranger in charge.
We get thousands of visitors who come into the area each year just to use the rail trail. Economically, it's added a lot to local communities such as the town of Hancock. Also helps us here at Fort Frederick being at the end of the rail trail.
From here, the trail winds west along what was once the line for the Western Maryland Railroad. There are 21 miles of paved trails that draw more than 140,000 visitors a year. It's especially beautiful in the fall when the leaves turn bright shades of red and yellow. John and Evelyn Hardy used the trail to ride all the way from Cincinnati to Washington, D.C.
It's wonderful. People should just get out and use them more. They don't know what they're missing. The togetherness, the sightseeing, God's country.
A team of volunteers makes sure the trail is kept clean of falling rocks and limbs. Jerry France and Mike Anderson are out almost every day.
Just being out, away from the cars. It's a good, safe trail. You know, no hazards. A good family trail.
It's all paved, easy to ride. Great variety of wildlife. You name it, it's got it.
At the other end of the state, over on the eastern shore, there's a very different rail trail. This one parallels busy Route 50 on Kent Island. The old Kent Island drawbridge is at the eastern end, and bikers and hikers sometimes have to give way to sailboats when the bridge is open.
Several small railroads in the early days from the 1890s till right up before World War II and even a little bit beyond. There were several freight railroads running north and south on Maryland's eastern shore, but there were also a couple of little passenger railways, one that ran from Annapolis all the way to Ocean City, right to the Atlantic Ocean.
Now the former right-of-way provides a gateway not only for bikers, but also for those who just want to take a stroll along the corridor with beautiful views of the tributaries that flow into the bay. The North Central Rail Trail, also called the Torrey Brown, goes from Ashland in the south and up through Pennsylvania, where it winds through habitated areas. But once away from the access points, you quickly forget you're in heavily populated parts of Baltimore County. DNR Park Ranger Jen Cashel says when you ride this trail, you retrace history.
Abraham Lincoln traveled the Northern Central Railroad to and from the delivery of his Gettysburg Address. And then later, following his assassination, the funeral train bearing his body traveled from Baltimore along the NCR to Pennsylvania.
This line opened as a rail trail in 1984, after the rail line was badly damaged by Hurricane Agnes and was never repaired. Some of the remnants of the railroad still line the trail. There's a ruin of a walker's house. These small dwellings house the railroad employees who walk the track daily looking for damage. Now this busy trail is a destination for more than 600,000 walkers and bikers a year. Claude Libis and his wife live just a few miles away and ride several times a week.
We started riding early last fall, and we come once a week, weather permitting. Okie-doke.
In Anne Arundel County, there is the B&A Trail. The southern end of this 13-mile-long paved trail offers one of the most beautiful views in Maryland. Park Ranger Matt George says about 500,000 people a year use this trail.
It was the old Baltimore and Annapolis Railroad, which was built in 1887, and it ran steam-powered locomotives up until 1908 when it converted over to an all-electric system. And they ran passenger service up until 1950, and then in 1968, they discontinued all service.
All along the trail, neighborhood organizations have taken over the landscaping. The right-of-way is now lined with small plots of land, with flower gardens maintained by nearby residents. In Glen Burnie, a short spur links to another trail, the BWI Trail. This 12-mile paved loop encircles Thurgood Marshall Airport, where it winds past a beautiful horse farm. The challenging terrain is what makes this trail a favorite for Brad Evans.
For me, it's perfect in the wheelchair. It's got some downhills, some uphills, some flats. It's got a little bit of everything for me. That's why I do it.
When you're on a beautiful trail, on a beautiful day, riding your bike on a day like this, the feeling is incredible. It really is like being a kid again.